Good afternoon, everyone. The media distraction that we're seeing in the last 3 to 4 days only rates as a 3 on my scale as we get into global crop losses and food price increases. Spring blizzard Xanto, I don't know why they even call it a winter storm. Anyway, blizzard warnings for upper Midwest sweeping across the U.S. Great graphic here. Look on the satellite for you. And these blizzard warnings, those are where we grow our crops. Let's take a look at Nebraska. Looks like they're putting a lot of seed in the ground right now. Perfect planting conditions, don't you think? A little bit wider out so you can actually see the fields where we grow our food across the breadbasket of the United States. More snow on the way too, that teal. That's another 40 inches through the 23rd of April. Gonna get a lot of crops in the ground there too. Seasonal totals blowing through the averages. South Dakota, another area where we grow crops. Great planting conditions there. Colorado, blizzard. Nebraska, blizzard. Minneapolis, 23 degrees Fahrenheit. You know seeds just love to germinate at those temperatures. Blizzard conditions verified in all these spots. Notice where we grow our crops. Wisconsin, looking good for the corn production. Temperature gradient map, extremely unusual. More wintry conditions. Spain. They're receiving blizzards also. This is really unusual because look at the snow depths over the last few days in southern Spain. Right here on the map, that pin is where the snows are falling, and so many other locations across Spain as well. Jumping over to France, look at the icy conditions on the roads there as well. This is right near coastal Italy, blanketed in deep hail. Pavia on the map here for you, lowlands. Morocco's snows continue. And the Arctic ice is continuing to go right back to the baseline. And as these conditions continue to cool and reduce our crop yields, the media distraction is going to continue to increase. And while you're watching the video, please remember to subscribe to Adapt 2030 and click that bell so you can get the latest updates. Now, as would be predicted of what we saw in the Maunder minimum, our crop growing season is going to shrink substantially on the springtime planting and then the harvest time. So this is an exact indicator here that our yields are going to decrease from this year forward. Winter storm Xanto. And I don't know why they mislabeled it. It's not winter, it's spring. It's a blizzard, it's not a storm. It should be called spring blizzard Xanto. Extremely unusual, crop delaying, but it looks beautiful on the satellite. And that will be followed by 2 more spring blizzards as well coming up through the end of the month. We're going to be getting blizzards in May. Let's take a look at whiteout conditions and snow totals. Currently, there's still a lot of snow to come. Literally, there's 40 more inches on the way. So this is just a dusting, literally a dusting for this storm. Looking at 18 inches, some places 2 feet, a lot of places 1 to 3 inches. But the cold is unbelievable. It's 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's take a look at the Midwest snowfall totals. Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Now you got to realize these are seasonal totals here. So this season they received 63 inches, but their departure from normal is 21 inches over. So you realize they received a third over their average seasonal snowfall totals. Minneapolis, the same thing, 74 inches for this season, 21 inches over. Now notice where the increases are and where the decreases are. Now, since the grand solar minimum precipitation changes are underway, you're going to start to see, well, you can forecast next year it's going to get wetter, it's going to snow later in these exact same locations. Now, we need to start matching up where are our crop growing zones and where are the places that are going to be delayed in planting next year as well. Let's just look at the blizzard warning wide out here on the map for you. You can see Sioux City, Duluth, these areas, anywhere in red, all the way up to Canadian border, we're going to have a repeat next year. And then these same types of storms are going to come earlier in autumn. So it's just going to reduce the overall amount of time that we can keep crops in our ground, which means reduced yield, which means prices up, which means shortages in the future. Alex Lemaire's puts together a great handwritten chart here. I really like the way it's done, not a computer model. It gives you some real feel of how the airflows are moving. It's so distinct on where the convergence zones are and how everything is in play. Now this is, in my opinion, historic, and I've also seen the Weather Channel call it historic winter storm, but it's actually a spring blizzard. Roads are closed all over the place, and if you are in these areas where the blizzards are raging, please take caution. This is no joke. This thing is for real. It is icy snow, massive pileups wherever this thing has crossed. As an example here in Nebraska, blizzard conditions, shutting highways. Collisions here again. Look at all the rigs piled up. And notice to the left there, those are fields that should be planted by now. And you have to ask yourself, what's the delay going to be even after this winter storm passes? How long will it really take for those farmers to get in the field? And how cold will that soil be? And how wet will it be after all this melts? You know, they're going to have to wait an additional amount of time. Spring planting delay should be the keyword of the day. Top winter weather headlines, icy, frozen conditions. Let's take a look further on Lincoln, Nebraska as well. Nothing going in the fields there. Ferocious winds accompanying this storm. And as you come through the social media, it's the same exact images again in just different locations. So the wind and the cold it's for real. Taking a look over at Ryan Maui, northern Wisconsin, Michigan, another 12 to 18 inches widening out for you here. You can see your local area where you might be on the map. Bring you back over to Nebraska, our grain belt in the U.S. Here looking for another 40 inches of snow. This will bring us out into the 23rd of March. Again, you can see your totals in your local area where you might be. So again, I'm trying to give you the wide out view here. South Dakota in the green, but you have to realize that that is our grain belt, and that does not stop at the U.S. That extends up in Canada, and they're receiving all-time record cold as well right now, and snows. Looking at South Dakota, same conditions as you see everywhere else. Jumping over to Colorado, same conditions as everywhere else. Extreme caution is an understatement if you're on the roads. The storm breaking now, heaviest one-day April snow totals across so many places. We'll see where it comes in at the end, but record cold and record snow where the circles are at the moment. As it gets reported, we'll just get more and more of these shattered records. Twin Cities launching weather balloon in blizzard conditions. Again, they're looking at heaviest April snowstorms on record. Going over to Minneapolis, 23 degrees Fahrenheit, feels like 11. Plants love to grow in this. You know, my favorite germination temperature for my plants when I'm starting seedlings is 23 degrees Fahrenheit. Always works really well. So these are all the locations where they have reported blizzard conditions. Now this thing is moving east, and over the next 2 to 3 days, it's going to continue over to the New England states. So far, we're looking at Colorado, Nebraska, South Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa. And I want you to look at this list here and ask yourself, which of these states do we grow major grain commodities? Now in Wisconsin, when people are complaining about the snow, you know it's really late because that is one of the snowiest places in the United States. You kidding me? Green Bay every single year. This is how much snow is there on the ground as well. They're even clearing it out still with bobcats. Green Bay. And as of course would be expected is low temperatures over the night. Look how much of the United States is low. In the 40s and 30s at this time of the year. Also wanted to talk about the temperature gradient as the blizzard marches eastward. Again, back to Ryan Mauer. He's got some of the best charts here on the web. You can also check out his site at weathermodels.com. There's a bunch of interactive charts there for global locations. But you can see the split in temperatures here. The inversion, the gradient, whatever you like to call it. There's that incredible line that you just don't normally see straight kind of lines like this in nature. But the heat on the one side, the blistering cold on the other. Again, if any plants are up and have budded out or flowered or sprouted out of the ground, they're up. First few weeks of growing, once they get hit by this kind of warm, cold temperature, they're not going to do very well. Over to the NOAA website, talking about 24-hour probability of snowfall accumulation. So I'm going to roll out the map here for you again. Wherever you are locally, you can take a look. I've linked everything below in the description box, so you can chase all of these leads down yourself, all the weather maps, everything you need, so you can stay safe and keep your family safe. Those really dark browns and orange reds up there, that's for sure 100% snowfall. So far, this is the icy snow mess. How many inches have come down? Minnesota, Montana, Nebraska, South Dakota. You know, how long does it really take for 20 inches of snow to melt off the fields that we're going to plant in? Now, this is just a single location on the planet. Now we need to go to southern Spain and Morocco, take a look at the snows there. This is southern Spain. They've been having a snowstorm and ferocious conditions since the 10th. That's been almost a week. Look at this. Looks exactly the same as the blizzards in the grain growing areas of the U.S. Southern Spain, strong wind and snow whiteout conditions. BBC Weather has an enormous amount of videos covering Spain, so I've just been drawing off some of their screen grabs here. Again, what do you notice that's similar that we've seen in the U.S. and Washington, D.C.? See all the flowers and buds that are covered in snow? Let's take a look. Cherry blossoms also covered in snow this year. Now this list, you need to ask yourself, which one of these had snow accompanied with the cherry blossoms? They don't really indicate that on Cherry Blossom Watch, but you're getting the same thing. Incredibly late snows after our trees have already flowered and budded. Like I said, this started back on April 10th and it just kept marching forward. An enormous amount of pictures, huge waves along the coast would be expected. Delays in travel. Some of the ports also had difficulty coming over some of the lower mountain areas there, getting out of the ports due to snow and ice on the roads. And finally, after 6 days, these are the snow totals. Media is not widely reporting on this because it's so unusual. I mean, they have to in the local areas. So another example would be France and Grasse. Look at that. That is coastal lowland. I know it borders on the ski resort area boundary, but it's lower elevation. See the same thing happening with the snows and travel right now. France. Let's jump over to Italy. This place here is called Pavia. Massive hail's coming down. This is the same area that they had that once in a 500-year flood just last year as well. So you might ask yourself, all right, really, what's the topography look like? I was able to find that for you as well. It's not in a ski area. It's lower elevation. Some strange things are happening with our precipitation on the planet. That's why I'm saying the distraction factor, because not only are crops in Canada, United States being lost, for sure, Europe planting and hailstorms, all these things are going to delay their planting as well. Morocco, let's take a look at the snow totals there over the last couple of days. I'll just let your eyes gauge as how deep and how thick that must be to cover entire mountain ranges completely white. Now jumping up to the Arctic. We're always talking about the sea ice volume. The Arctic's lowest ever. It's never going to recover ever again. So this chart here is 2004 to 2013. So by all accounts, IPCC and all these global warming advocates are telling you that the sea ice is going to nothing, that we're never going to have sea ice again. Your children will never know what sea ice is. So when we look at closer time frames here, you can really see the recovery. Yet when you show these charts, you're like, oh, it's only 2004 to 2013. Those 11 years don't count on the recovery of the sea ice. We only can look at 40-year cycles now with the sea ice and the satellite measurements. These 11 years, they don't count, because it just doesn't fit their model. This is back on April 10th. And I'll bring you here slightly jumping ahead to April 14th. You can see that is going to eclipse now 2017. Hey, wait, we also eclipsed 2015 and 16. So where's all this all-time record low ice stories coming from? When you can clearly see from the DMI measuring this, that's a Danish Meteorological Institute, that our sea ice is increasing at this time of the year. Yet they're telling you in the media that it's decreasing. So I don't know where the disconnect is between our mainstream media feeding you mistruths versus what the science and what the data is showing you. This is what I'm talking about. These distractions in the media, I feel right now are only at a 3. All this chaos going on right now is a 3 in my book. We're nowhere near to where they need to get to the distraction points when your food starts to become undeliverable, when your food prices triple, quadruple, 5 times, 10 times what today's prices are, where when you walk to the supermarket, food is unavailable, then that media distraction is going to get up into the 9s and 10s. We're not even close to that yet. We have another year and a half until the harvest season of 2019 before they need to distract you to the point where they might really get something going hot. But right now, it's just smoke and mirrors, saber rattling, shake, 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 distract, distract, distract. And since we did have Winter Storm Xanto, I thought I would leave you with some Chinese today, xie xie, which means thank you. And you can see that X is pronounced as an S sound, Xanto. In case anybody asks, how do you say that X sound? It looks like Xanto or something. It's Xanto. Xie xie Neiman for watching. Hope you got something out of the video. And these productions are possible because of TrueLeafMarket.com and Hemp Lucid.